Not only are bringing back newly selected Hall of Famer Chris Bosh, but yes, 3-time NBA champ, 13-time All-Star, Jazz part owner, and game show host Dwayne Wade also returning to the jump. Dwayne, thanks for hopping back on with us.
Oh, of course, always. And CB on the show, I was like, I can't miss it.
Exactly. And by the way, we're going to talk a lot about basketball, but I need to understand more about this new game show you have debuting tomorrow on TBS because it's called The Cube. And does this mean that you've moved to a cube? Is that where you are talking to us from right now? Do they bring you food in the cube? Are there games in the cube? How does this work?
Yeah, it's like your own person. It's like my own personal bubble. Right?
There you go.
So, no, you know what? I never thought I would be sitting here adding game show host to the resume. But, you know, the opportunity at the right time when the world needed it, it presented itself to be able to bring something that can bring people together, that can bring joy and laughter. And so I started as executive producer on The Cube that's been a big success in the UK for the last 11, going on its 12th year now. And we adopted it here, and now from here, man, it's just for me to try to put my own sauce to it. And it was the hardest thing for me to accomplish. Like winning 2 championships with Chris Bosh was a little easier for me.
I mean, you know, you got to invite guests to the Cube. You got to decorate the Cube. I'm seeing a lot for season 2. That's all I'm saying.
The it's endless potential. We can have like NBA champion Cube. We can have like superstar. We can have hosts, game show hosts, like jump hosts. We can have everything. We can do everything on the Cube. So it's an honor for me to be able to move into a different arena and hopefully bring the same joy that I brought in another arena when I played basketball.
Chris, I think that Dwayne just invited us both to the Cube. Do you feel you have game shows in your future too? I think you'd be very good at it.
Oh yeah, of course. I've been on Jeopardy a couple times. You know, I love game shows. I used to like watch them. That's like the best part about D Wade. He does things that connect you with other people. Like I watched Wheel of Fortune with my grandma all the time. You know what I mean? And now he's a game show host. It's the craziest thing, but it was so cool. I told them when they were previewing the episode, I watched it with my daughter, and it was after the playoffs, and we were just kind of checking it out. It was a good time. It gets you. I will say that it got us. We were just glued to our seats. But please, do check it out. It's a good time.
I love that. And by the way, I love the idea. Now you said Jeopardy of you and Aaron Rodgers competing to be Jeopardy hosts. We're going to get to that in a different segment. I got to get to some hoops, guys. Because
Rachel, before we move on to hoop, like Chris said, one of the things I really loved about the show is like the cube and going in there and competing is one thing, but it was what was happening outside the cube, right? It was really the connection that you're going to sit on that couch, you're going to be able to feel to the contestants that's on the show. The contestants make the show, their stories, the way they're into it, what they're playing for. You know, some people are playing for their communities, some was playing for their rent money, some was playing for their weddings. Like, it's so many different stories, and we can all sit back and watch them and say, I see myself in them, and I want them to succeed. I want them to win. So that was one of the greatest parts about even doing the show was what happens outside the cube.
I love that. We saw so many ways you connected with people when you were in Miami, especially in that last year. We're going to get to your final year in a second. I do want to get to your present, though. Besides game show host, you are a part owner of the Utah Jazz now. Very fancy. And we saw you giving tips to Donovan Mitchell in Utah during the game last night. And here's what Donovan had to say about it.
You know, it's great to have, someone that I call my brother, sitting courtside, being part of this organization, just trying to help me out and find ways to improve. And not just with myself, but finding ways with the team. And, I think that's the biggest thing. And just, I'm grateful that he's able to do that. Not a lot of guys do that, and be able to do it, especially live action in a playoff game. But, it was great.
That last part, Dwayne, you and I have talked for years about your relationship with Donovan and how it's grown. But the idea that now, because of your relationship with the team, you can actually sit there and talk to him during a playoff game. What was that like?
Well, the only reason I'm able to do that and feel comfortable enough to do it is because I got the blessings from Coach Quinn. I got to give the shout out to Coach. He really has allowed me to come in and feel that my voice is needed and my voice can be heard. And so that's the only reason I stepped over that line, to be on the sideline and talking to the guys while they're playing. But me and Donovan have always had a special relationship. As you said, he was my little brother, at first, and now we're here together, man. We're both doing this, and he's special. I don't want to take any credit for his performance, any credit for his success. I just want to be able to add the things that I learned from the game of basketball and be able to plant that on him, and also what I learned off the court and what I'm still learning off the court. I want to be able to raise him even higher. So not only getting the opportunity to be a part owner of an NBA team, which is CB, I know you thinking like that's crazy. Like we were just playing Pac-Man downstairs. We were just playing Pac-Man at 2 in the morning not too long ago. and to be able to do it to not only to Ryan Smith, to Ryan Sweeney, and Mike Cannon-Brooks, the ownership group that the Utah Jazz have is an amazing ownership group. We're all 42 and under at this point, and we're really just trying to take what Gail Miller and Larry Miller, the Miller family, did in Utah, and we're just trying to continue to elevate and continue to evolve what they've done with this platform. And we're led by guys like Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
I mean, by the way, people who don't know what that reference was to, Dwayne and Gabby had correct me if I'm wrong, this arcade table, Pac-Man arcade table, and your wife would tell me that she would wander downstairs in her own home and find Chris Bosh sitting there without having, to her knowledge, to even use the front door playing Pac-Man. So, teammates,
I got a bite to eat and everything.
Hey, CB, it was therapy. Listen, them big 3 times wasn't all good. It was some stressful times. Pac-Man was therapy.
For sure. Oh, for sure. We had to do something else. I'd just walk over and it didn't matter. It's just like I could get a good meal from Chef. I know he's there. I know where to go. Yeah, I know where to go. It's all good.
All right, I do want to take you back to those Heat days because there is some breaking news involving your old coach, current Miami team president Pat Riley. Last week, Pat Riley said this on the Dan Le Batard show. It was about LeBron James. Quote, "I would leave a key under the doormat if he would call me and let me know that he's coming," Riley said. This is, of course, to the idea that LeBron might ever return and finish his career with the Heat the way you did, Dwayne. Quote, "I would do that, but I doubt very much that key." He said that key is rusted now. "I wish him nothing but the best, and if he ever wanted to come back, I will put a new shiny key under the mat." Now, that quote just earned him today a $25,000 fine from the from the NBA. I'm sure Pat's good for it, or Mickey Arison is good for it. But, Chris, what do you think Pat was trying to accomplish there?
I mean, usually you're used to competing at championship time, and if you're not, if you know the Heat, they're thinking about the next move and things to get better. And we're living in that world of tampering. I'm pretty sure he meant things tongue in cheek, just a bit, maybe a little serious, but that's what happens. You want to be playing right now. You want to be in the mix, in the fight, competing for an NBA championship, and to not have that. I'm sure he starts going back down memory lane and just thinking of different scenarios, and then he can say what he wants to say. And unfortunately, there's tampering rules for that. But I mean, it's just something that's out there now, and we'll see. We'll see if the key analogy keeps going.
What do you think, D?
Well, Pat Riley got 25,000 in his dress socks.
Right.
But just to stay away from the Utah Jazz getting a fine.
Oh.
I would just say that Pat Riley is doing Pat Riley things.
Okay. All right. We can talk about Miami, and Dwayne, I understand you have to talk about this again in the larger sense because of your Jazz relationship. But look, your relationship isn't just with Miami. You have had a long relationship with Jimmy Butler. This year ended earlier than they expected after that finals appearance in the bubble last October. What do you think he or the Heat need to do to get back among the contenders in 2021?
Well, like Chris said, man, the Heat is always going to do what they've always done. They always planning steps ahead to try to look at the future and see how they can compete for championships. The Miami is all about championships. You can take the years that you don't win championships and say, man, we had a great season, but that wasn't a year that Pat Riley and the organization really want to remember. They want to remember the ones that end in parades. And so they're going to do everything possible to do that. As long as Pat Riley and the Arison family is at the helm of that organization, they're always going to go all in. They're going to pull those chips in when it's right. They're not going to do it when it ain't right. When it's right, they're going to put all the chips in.
Chris, what do you think?
Oh, no, it's pretty much the same. It's the reason that organization is where it is to this day. And just like Dwayne said, give credit to the Harrison family, the Riley family for their work, their vision, and really just the belief that they put in. Like, it's an organizational thing. You believe you can win, you can actually do it. And that's what it's all about. So we know that they're going to be aggressive in any situation they can, but like Dwayne said again, only when it's right. And sometimes when it's right, is really right, and they'll be right back in the mix.
Well, we saw that last year. We saw that with the two of you. In fact, during the break, when we were all like lining up on the screen here, Dwayne was like, Chris, this feels like 2010 when we were announcing who was going to the Heat. I got to ask you back about that, guys. Look, I mean, when you guys were back and you ended up, of course, in LeBron with Miami, before you got there, there was the chance that you both might have gone to Chicago. So we've talked plenty about the Heat side of things, but I want to dig back to the Chicago side of things. What do you think would have happened if you guys had decided in the end to all be Bulls together instead of Miami players together?
Look,
well,
I will
Chris,
say,
you go first.
you want to, yeah. I will say this. You think you have things made up in your mind,
right?
But when I went into the pitch with Chicago, it was an excellent pitch. Mm-hmm. It was a really, really good pitch, and I didn't know I was going to feel the way I was going to feel. Right, that was in the house that Jordan built. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, it was all there. And like I tell people all the time, that was the pressure that they were putting on me. So they said, if you come, Dwayne or LeBron is going to come. So you need to make a decision. That was my pressure. And then they would put me, Dwayne, D Rose, Luol Deng, Joe Kim. That's a pretty good team.
Yeah, it's okay.
It was just one of those psychological things that the teams was throwing out there, and Chicago was no different.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, here's the thing: the Bulls, the Knicks, every team that was in the runnings in 2010 could only bring in 2-star players. And so in Chicago, it was going to be a race to either Chris and me or Chris and LeBron. It wasn't going to be all three of us.
Okay.
So Miami was the only team that made sure to put themselves in a position that all three of us can come in. And even though we had to take less money, there was no other place that had the room for all three of us. And, when me and Brian looked at it as well, that we love to play together. But him and I together was not going to, result into the championships we wanted. We knew we needed Chris Bosh. And we decided not to settle for just two of us. All of us decided to just settle for all three of us.
Now, as you say that, there are loud cries coming from Chicago of people saying, we would have cleared the roster for all three of you. I know that's what people in Chicago were thinking, but history went the way it went. And that is why, before you go, Dwayne, it is time to play one of our favorite games. What were you thinking? Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade edition.
Uh-oh. All
right, Dwayne, what were you thinking when you claimed that Miami's American Airlines Arena was your house back in 2009? Take a look.
This one was incredible. That was incredible, man.
That might be my favorite individual moment.
I remember that one.
Yeah?
That's my favorite individual moment of my career.
Really?
Yeah, individual moment.
My house. My house. They just changed the name of your house, by the way.
I don't know what I was thinking. I always wanted to run and jump on the scores table. You see, I was going to my teammates and I was like, nah, this is about me. and I jumped on the scores table because I've always seen like Jordan and guys celebrate and Kobe and those guys do that. And when I jumped up there, the fans was giving me life, and I just was like, "Yeah, this is my house." And I didn't pay no bills or nothing in that house. That was not my house. I was a visitor.
Living rent free is the best way to live. That's
living rent free.
Oh, man.
All right. So next up, what were you thinking in 2011 when you joined the club of those who posterized our dear friend Kendrick Perkins? Take a look here.
Yeah, I remember this one. I remember that. That was a big game.
It was a big game. So First of all, let me say this to Big Perk. Mm-hmm. All right, Big Perk in round one after game one said Memphis was about to roll over my Utah Jazz. Big Perk, I ain't getting no apology yet. I'm waiting for it. Moving on. So we played OKC maybe 9 days before that, and Big Perk got he got that little weak two-hand dunk, and he brought his legs up higher than they supposed to be. He jumped that high. And he wrapped them around me. And I was like, I was ready to fight, but I can't fight Big Perk. He a big dude.
Yeah.
So I was like, when we get to Miami, I'm coming for you, Perk. And it was the game was the night after the 5-5 documentary release, and that's why I did the dunk. I did the
little couch pass, got the whole thing going.
yeah. So yeah, Big Perk should have wrapped his legs around me in OKC. I wouldn't have to do that to him.
Big Perk will be back chopping back in on this show, so we'll see if we can get that apology for you finally. All right, next, what were you thinking every time that Chris Bosh video bombed you and pretty much the entire Heat organization?
All I was thinking was that one day Jackson is gonna have to grow up and see this.
Yeah.
I was like, look at Jackson's father. Look.
Bro,
Jackson
I haven't seen you in so long.
This one, that is my favorite one.
Yo. That was so good. So that was great times, man. And like that's CB. I'm so glad that the world got a chance to see this guy. Like we've seen a little bit of him when he was in Toronto. He did those all-star videos, but getting a chance to see his video bombs, you got a chance to see Chris's personality, man. I mean, and it was great. So that was it. Just added to the lure of the big three. We just did some cool things.
Look, you pointed out that you and LeBron felt you could not go forward without Chris Bosh. I know that was mostly a basketball discussion, but Chris, I will say the way you contributed to that team culture made such a big difference. This is coming from an outsider. I know, Dwayne, you could say from an insider's perspective. That kind of stuff, it's silly, but it really matters, right? Dwayne, when you have a team that you need someone who can make everybody smile.
Well, it's 3 letters. HOF. He's a Hall of Famer.
Amen.
It makes nothing but sense. We're not great without one of the greatest players to play the game. He's the Hall of Famer for a reason, and I cannot wait to be there to see my brother get inducted in.
Dun, dun, dun. I love
You
it.
guys are too nice. Good grief. I'm going to be on here crying, man. You get over here getting me, bro.
Yeah, I was going to
Thank
say. All right, last one.
Come on.
Dwayne, what were you thinking when mid-farewell speech in Miami 2019, you did this?
Oh! You know what, Rachel? I said it on the microphone at that time, and I said it after the game. That's exactly why I retired. You see that? All right. Then I looked 37 years old on that ball. It was time.
We saw you jump up on the table as the first highlight here. That jump did not go the same way back then.
No, my hips is a little tighter. I think my feet grew a little bit. It's all bad, man. But
hey, if there was ever a moment, would you say, "Yeah, I'm done"? You try to go up on the table, like, "Yeah, no, that's it.
That was it. If I had any second thoughts about, man, I'm playing pretty good this year, maybe.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
that moment right there was like, sir, tomorrow is your last night ever playing basketball.
All I know is the party was already planned by the time that happened, so you were not getting out of retiring anyway. There we go.